Hello there, YouTubers. This is a special edition of Propaganda Piles. It's not really going to be about a particular topic, but about a recent video I just seen on Dawn's channel, Witness for Jesus. And I'm going to put the links right below there in the description area. And there's about 4 videos where she recorded a conversation between her and a former J.W. Elder, and what I would call a case in crap. You know, Propaganda Piles is all about big piles of crap that we carry around from our former cult, and here she's talking to a man who's still in the cult. I'm not, it's former elder, so I guess he's not an elder anymore. But, he's claiming to be an elder. I'm not even sure if he really is an elder or he's just claiming to be. But if you get to listen to this conversation, especially the last one, and the last one I'm going to have right there in the description area, I want you to really listen to this conversation. And to listen to this Jehovah's Witness elder, former elder, claimed to be elder, with his propaganda, with his typecast of what he thinks Christianity believes or teaches, or his identification with Christianity, what he thinks churches teach. It's really an interesting process because some of you believe the same things. Some of you who have YouTube channels say the same things that this Jehovah's Witness elder says. Some of the people that have come out of the cults, have YouTube channels, still think cultic. They have that cultic crap, cultic bias, cultic perception of the outside world. They still use words like Christendom. They still believe that churches are in it for the money. And Dawn just absolutely, the last video, I'm just going to put the last one so you guys can hear it. She just absolutely nukes this guy left and right. I will give it to him. He took his butt whooping. Dawn she handed it to him like being Mike Tyson in the ring. She was giving him uppercuts and all kinds of blows. And I will say, he was quiet a lot. And when he spoke, he would come out with his stupidity. It was just sheer stupidity. And she called him out on it every single time. What's amazing is that he knows she's a former Jehovah's Witness. She's told that to him. She hasn't been formally disfellowshipped. Maybe that's why he feels he can talk to her. Or at least take her word that hasn't been formally disfellowshipped. And but she does a great job. And even though Dawn doesn't know the logistics of certain denominations, she did such a great job really handling him on. It's just, there's so many great points in the discussion. She points out that, because he points out how churches are all about money, she says, well, you Jehovah's Witnesses are all about money. You're the pot calling the kettle black. You guys, you got to keep your members in so badly that you force people to stay in, otherwise they'll lose their family members. So you're so much on the money that you're trying to keep what you got, trying to keep them in there under duress. Because there's no way out of it. She killed him on it. And he admitted they're a publishing company, but I think he didn't mean what she meant by publishing company. Of course, Witness are proud to admit that they're publishing. The way she put it about how they have, they put the literature in so many languages. He was proud of it, So he just didn't get it. I don't think he understood about, what they were about and what she was trying to say. But it was just fantastic. And then he He's tried to say Southern Baptists are just whites. He's a moron. And this is the kind of typecast stuff that Jehovah's Witnesses, none of what he was saying about churches was true, which is baloney. I mean, some of the most popular Southern Baptist preachers are black. Thabiti Mbengwa, he's a famous black Southern Baptist pastor in Jamaica, on the Caribbean islands. He's written several books. He just doesn't know what he's talking about. And then try to say the American Baptists are for the blacks, and the Southern Baptists are for the whites. He's an old guy. So maybe back in the day when he was going to Baptist churches, maybe his perception, because maybe he went to a Southern Baptist church, it was all white. But I know that I've been to several Southern Baptist churches, and that you'll have white people. It depends. You'll have black people. You have, if non-denominational churches are more, mixed culture. But it's just his assumptions about Christians. First of all, I think the other thing is that he assumes that everybody who goes to a Christian church or a Baptist church is a Christian, because everybody that goes to a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall is pretty much a Jehovah's Witness. They don't have that many visitors, but it's a lot of broad brush assumptions that are based on no experience, no real experience. And she just really raked him over the coals. I will say, and she wasn't really mean about it. She was more sarcastic about it. And I think the fourth video, she just got to that point. She admits this is the point where she's got tired of him. And there was a continuous attempt on his behalf to try to find out what church she goes to, so that he can label her, so he can typecast her. Because in his estimation, the churches that he goes to, by the way, he lives in Virginia, which isn't far from where I live. I live in Maryland and DC, and I work in DC, and I work in Virginia too. My many jobs. I got so many jobs, man. So I work in Virginia. I'm international, man. In Maryland, me smoke the ganja. No, but in Maryland, me live there. Me deliver the pizza in Maryland. In DC, me drive the important government people. And in Virginia, me work as a desk clerk overnight for the Ethiopian tenants of me building. Those are my 3 jobs. 3. I got 3 jobs. You lazy llama beans. You think I have 2? I have 3. So anyway, in Virginia, he was just trying to, he's from Virginia. He was trying to typecast, the Baptist churches in certain ways. And he was just flat out wrong on the money issue. And then she was talking about non-denominational churches. Even denominations, because he was trying to say denominations. Sure, there are mega churches that are, big money churches. There's a lot of money that they have. But I will say this. Okay, even with the mega churches, and mega churches in Christianity generally are 500 members or 500 people or more. When we think of mega churches, generally people think of mega churches, they're thinking like the Joel Osteens, the Creflo Dollars, the churches that have 5, 10, 15, 20,000 people in it. And I will say, even with the mega churches, even with the Joel Osteen churches, that are huge churches that do have a lot of money, they do a lot in the community. They do tons in the community. and people get mad when they don't do something. Joel Osteen got under a lot of heat because of the hurricane and some of the parts of the floor, the church, which I think is a former basketball arena. Some of it was flooded, and so they were saying, "How come you're not opening your doors of your church and stuff?" One time, Joel Osteen. First of all, Joel Osteen doesn't know. When you're a pastor of a mega church, that especially church as large as Joel Osteen, I'm sure Joel doesn't know tons of things that are happening in his church. He has no idea what about 60% of the stuff that's going on in his church. He probably has to have big committee meetings to get updated on what's going on in his church. So even in what happened to him, I've got to give him a half a pass. But the fact is that one time something goes wrong, and Christianity is it's all about money, and people just really want to lambaste one guy, Joel Osteen, for something that probably he had no idea was happening or didn't know the logistics of it, probably never knows the logistics of those things, because there are people that handle those things, and maybe somebody was sleeping on the job at that particular time, or somebody didn't do something right, and he gets the backlash for it, whether it's legitimate or not. The fact is, Joel Osteen's church could have done 99,000 things for that community in the past, and I'm sure that they have done 99,000 things in Houston. I'm sure that his church is a pillar in the city of Houston and what it does as far as charity concerning people in that community. But the one time something happens and goes awry, and that's it. Every atheist comes out of the woodwork. Every gay person talks bad about Christians, and LGBT come out. Everybody, Christians are bad. This is a case in point, an example. Unloving, they're not like Jesus. And this is exactly the kind of crap that we deal with on a daily basis if you're a Christian. This is the kind of crap that Christian churches deal with. And then we get broad brushed, and 90% of the churches were like the churches that I was a pastor over, struggling. Pastors is got another job or two jobs, trying to keep his church doors open, contributing money, so that he can do outreach events to draw people to the church, and also putting money into the community, because people are hungry in the community. People are starving, homeless people. I did a church picnic for the day that I was ordained. I was ordained in that church, and I did a church picnic, and we didn't have a lot of people in our church, but I'm a guy who overdoes things. That's just me. And I spent about $200 in barbecue, and I was cooking. I made tons of shish kebab. I made hot dogs. I made hamburgers. We did a barbecue. And my godfather in the faith was on the grill, and he says, "I didn't sign up for this." My godfather, Roy Howdy Shell Sr., God bless him, I love him. But I had him on the grill. We was in the heat sweating, and people were coming, people that I didn't know who they were. They was coming. I was like, "Hey, come on in, have some barbecue, free barbecue." Everybody got home with plates of food, and that's what churches do. And most people, it's not, we don't do it for the glory. I mean, we do it because this is what Jesus would have us do. And this is something that Don was trying to present to the elder. What's funny is, Don, and I'm going to talk to you for a minute, Don, was at first, he was proud that they just do the preaching work, because this is what God is all about. It's about the preaching work, right? And then you started making the point that, and you were showing with scripture. She was showing with scripture that no, yeah, we're supposed to preach, but look at all the charity in the New Testament scriptures that was being done. I mean, let's not negate. And here was a scripture that wasn't brought out at the time, but in the midst of conversation, she brought out a lot of scriptures. But Jesus fed 5,000 people, minus the women and children. You remember the fish and the loaves? What was Jesus doing? He was feeding people. And so the church has always been about the community of faith. They were always having food. They were always helping out people. Ananias and Sapphira was supposed to donate as a community. It was everybody pooling in their resources. And they were doing work for the poor. Judas was in charge of the treasury box. They went into the treasury box not only to support themselves when they was on the road, but also to support the work that they were doing for others. They were feeding people. They were helping people. But so Dawn did a great job. And then all of a sudden, well, we help people. We feed people. Then he flips the script. And Dawn was like, no, you don't. Dawn was like, I feel in trouble. And don't come up with that crap about when disaster relief. And they give out some story about how they help people build their... Let me tell you something. I guarantee you those... First of all the stories are embellished. All the stories are embellished. I'll tell you who's a guy who will tell you all about embellishment stories. Critical Thinkers, JT and Lady C. They will tell you. JT's a good friend of mine, Lady C. They're both good friends of mine. They live here in Maryland. And so we JT's told me stories about how they would talk about brother and sister pioneer went over crocodile-infested waters to get to the Kingdom Hall, not negating that they didn't tell you that there was a bridge that went right over the river. It wasn't like they was, canoeing or swimming through the waters. But so JT and Lady C, they're the experts on Bethel stories. They'll tell you some stories. But check out Critical Thinkers. They're doing great work. But so if you don't know about their channel, Critical Thinkers is a good channel. Lady C and JT are handling the real tough topics and also really sharing some stuff that a lot of people are not covering. But yeah, Dawn killed me though, because you see, he was talking to someone like if she didn't have experience, and he was trying to use his elder experience as the supreme chancellor of experience. And this is the misogynistic, I've got power issue of patriarchal system of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But all I'm going to say is, if you listen to this J.W. Elder and all the religious bias and propaganda that he comes out, and she shuts him down left and right, and some of it, she could have shut him down even further, but she shut him down pretty good in that video. And I think that they can probably even keep up with the conversation. I have a feeling that Dawn's elder is he's an older guy. He's probably at home, and he wants someone to talk to, and he's counting her time. He's counting his time with her, but he feels he needs someone to talk to, and this is a lot easier field service than going out there. And so it's good time for him. And but when you hear this elder, I'm telling you, some of these channels, some of these YouTube channels, especially the Satan is Yahweh channels, sound exactly like him. In fact, some of the arguments he posed And there are some of the arguments that you hear in some of these Satanist Yahweh XJW channels. You know, when they talk about hell, the witness, you know, they only know the witness view of hell, or the witness straw man of what Christians are supposed to teach about hell. Some of these atheists will try to typecast Christians on certain things, and really they don't know how Christians really deal with certain passages. And I'll tell you a topic I just came up with recently. I talked about on one of my videos was about homosexuality, and we got 20 minutes, so I got 10 more minutes. I try to keep it at 30, so I got 10 more minutes. And so somebody was pointing about Hebrews 1 Romans chapter 1, and that's a chapter that I go to about homosexuality being idolatrous and not supporting homosexuality, because Romans chapter 1, I believe it's verse 33 or 32, it says something to the effect about something about supporting those who have such behaviors, and it compares homosexuality. Not only does it say it's unnatural, it calls it idolatry, because first of all, we were made in the image of God, and then we're worshiping ourselves so much in our flesh that we're trying to change what God has imprinted upon us as an image for us to be like into something else. And we're doing we're doing no different than, it's funny, somebody brought up the issue about animals and homosexuality in the animal kingdom, and that's my point, is exactly what Romans 1 is like. We're becoming beasts. It's a move away from our humanity, and it's a move towards the savagery of beasts who not only commit homosexuality, but they commit incest. So we're going to justify incest now because animals, you know, brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers in the animal kingdom have sex with one another? Or are we going to start licking each other's butts because dogs? I'll tell you what, my boy cat, their brother and sister, I got 2 cats, you know, the brother's always licking his sister's butt all the time. It don't matter, she just pooped, you know, he's going to clean that butt clean. I should call him Scotty, because he's Scotty tissue. He's her toilet paper. But I mean, animals do a lot of things. They eat their young. Are we going to justify cannibalism now? But I know the whole a great deal of XJWs have come hard on the Watchtower about its stance on homosexuality. Well, Christianity and its totality, you know, with the exception of liberal, very, very liberal churches who call themselves Christian, I wouldn't call themselves Christian, have broken off from what Christians have believed for 2,000 years now about homosexuality, and trying to even impose meaning into the text to justify legality of, for example, homosexuality in marriage. But my point is that this person was, you know, intimating that I hate homosexuals based on Romans 1, and that's not true. You know, the way the Christian church handles homosexuality is, we don't hate homosexuals. We don't hate gay people. I mean, it's a sin just like any other sin. You know, I don't hate people for being alcoholics. I don't hate people that might fall into fornication or adultery. I want them to come to repentance and transform their lives. And I understand I'll tell you, I have a friend who's gay and came out of Bethel. And I've told him, he's a Christian, and he has chosen a celibate lifestyle, and because his attraction has not changed for males. And I've told him, you know, and I'm not going to say his name, but I've told him, I said, you know what, if you fell, you know, and you know, fell and committed fornication within your homosexual desires, I'd still love you. I'd still love you because I love you. And he stayed with me and my wife for a while, for a couple months, and we love him. And I mean, to our knowledge, he hasn't. But even if he has, we'd understand that, he's fallen, and we all fall. We all fall from our sin. We fall for our sin, our flesh, or whatever. That doesn't justify us to do it. I mean, Jesus said, if one looks at a woman with lust, they have committed adultery. Guilty as charged. And I'm a married man. I've seen women, I'd say, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful woman. And I've looked at them with lust. And I felt bad about it. I felt convicted about it. And that's the importance. It's not how many times you fall for your sin. It's how many times you get back up. Now, fortunately, thank God, I've had the strength not to commit adultery, in the flesh. I've committed adultery in the heart. But God understands our hearts, and he reads our hearts, and he understands that the heart, according to the Bible, is desperately wicked. My father's an alcoholic. My father was a drug addict. My father was a womanizer. But I forgive him. I forgive my father for all of his sins. And I remember one day in the basement of my townhome, and he says, "Can you forgive me?" And I said, "Yeah, Poppy, of course I forgive you." And he wept. My father wept on my shoulders. And I embraced my father. And I said, "I love you, man. I can't hold your sin against you. God forgives you." And that's the difference between Christianity and the cults. Is that, yes, we call out sin, but we also believe in grace and mercy. And we believe in repentance and change and support from sin. Because we know that, yeah, we all sin, but we need that support. We need to help each other. And we need to be there for one another when we do fall. Jesus caught Mary the harlot in the act of adultery. they had caught her in the act of adultery. That is, she was having sex. She was a harlot. She was having sex with a married man. And this didn't take a whole bunch of time. It wasn't months later or anything. Right in front of all those guys, and some of them were probably guys who had slept with her, he says, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." And they couldn't cast it. For sure, none of the ones that had sinned with her could cast it. But here they were wanting to go and condemn her for her sin. And what does Jesus say? Not only did he forgive her, but he says, "Woman, where are your accusers? Now go and sin no more." So, there he's strengthening her. He's forgiveness and then support. Because this thing that we call flesh, it's something to deal with. and temptation then, nothing compared to temptation now. We have TV, we have pornography, we have the temptation to steal, the temptation. We are surrounded by temptation. Temptation on the road to knock somebody's block off, So, road rage, Whatever is our temptation. Some people have anger issues. But, some of us XJWs got crap on the brain. We're still stuck with it. We sound like that JW Elder. And I hope that this series that I'm giving will allow us to have some self-examination. Come on now. Some self-examination about where we sound like a Jehovah's Witness and where we need to start up from scratch and give Christianity a chance and don't come in with bias. I said I had some Catholic biases, and I still have some issues with Catholicism, but I understand it a lot more than I did before. So we're down at the 29-minute mark. Like I said, check out Dawn's video. Check out Witness for Jesus. Subscribe to her channel. She is giving great information from a Christian perspective, and as a person, not only was a former Jehovah's Witness, but a former, I believe, New Ager. I think she was involved in some occult type stuff. So Here's a person who has a lot of experience in different beliefs and different philosophies, and now is a Christian and loves the Lord. And pray for Dawn, who is also having some issues with health that I think she's let us know on our channel. But God bless you. This Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, check us out, Healing X Outreach. We're going to go through 50 occurrences where the New World Translation, well, up to 50, we're not going to do all 50, but up to 50 occurrences in the New World Translation where they omitted the divine name in the New Testament. Bye-bye.